Welcome to our deep dive into Ramadan. Whether you're, just getting acquainted with the basics or maybe brushing up for a special event or trip, we're here to guide you through some fascinating insights from the Wikipedia article on Ramadan. Get ready for some surprises, even if you think you know all about it.
Yeah, what often surprises people is that Ramadan is much more than simply not eating. It's a time of deep spiritual reflection and transformation for Muslims around the world.
Okay, let's unpack this. What exactly is Ramadan, and why is it considered so central to the Islamic faith?
Well, Ramadan is the ninth month of the Islamic calendar, and it holds immense significance as one of the five pillars of Islam. These pillars are the foundational practices of the faith, making Ramadan a central act of worship for Muslims globally.
So if these pillars are like the foundation, Ramadan is a cornerstone.
That's a great analogy. Yeah, it's a time for intensified spiritual engagement, focusing on prayer, studying the Quran, and engaging in acts of charity.
And of course, Ramadan is famously tied to the lunar calendar, meaning it shifts throughout our Gregorian calendar year. One year it might be in summer, the next in winter. That must have a huge impact on the fasting experience, right?
You're absolutely right. The shifting nature of Ramadan means that the length of the fast can vary significantly depending on where you are in the world and the time of year. Imagine fasting for 20 hours a day versus 10. That's a whole different ballgame.
I was just thinking about that. It's incredible how Muslims adapt to those challenges, maintaining their commitment to the fast regardless of the circumstances.
Yeah, it speaks to the dedication and resilience that are central to Ramadan. It's not meant to be easy. In fact, the challenges are seen as opportunities for spiritual growth.
Speaking of challenges, let's talk about the fasting itself. It's not just about abstaining from food and drink, is it?
Not at all. Fasting during Ramadan goes beyond physical deprivation. It's about cultivating a deeper awareness of God and strengthening one's connection to the divine. This concept of taqwa is really at the heart of the practice.
Can you explain taqwa a bit more? For someone unfamiliar with Islamic theology, it might not be a familiar term.
Certainly, taqwa can be understood as a deep consciousness of God, a state of awe, reverence, and mindful awareness of His presence. It's about living with intention, aligning your actions with your values, and striving to become a better version of yourself.
So fasting becomes a way to cultivate that awareness, to remind yourself of your reliance on God, and to detach from worldly desires. It's almost like hitting the reset button on your spiritual compass.
That's a great way to put it. It's about shifting your focus from the material to the spiritual, from the fleeting to the eternal.
And it's not just about giving things up. I've heard that acts of charity are especially important during Ramadan. Why is that?
Giving to those in need is a core principle in Islam, and it takes on even greater significance during Ramadan. It's a time to reflect on our blessings and share them with those less fortunate.
So it's about putting those spiritual principles into action, connecting your inner transformation with outward acts of compassion and generosity.
Exactly. It's about recognizing our shared humanity and extending a helping hand to those who are struggling.
Now, I know there are some key dates within Ramadan that hold particular importance. What stands out to you as the most significant?
One of the most powerful nights in Ramadan is Laylat al-Qadr, or the Night of Power. It falls within the last 10 days of Ramadan and is believed to be the night when the first verses of the Quran were revealed to the Prophet Muhammad.
Why is this night considered so powerful? What makes it different from other nights of the year?
It's believed that on this night, the blessings and forgiveness from God are multiplied exponentially. It's a time for deep introspection, fervent prayer, and seeking a profound connection with the divine.
So it's like a spiritual reset, a chance to wipe the slate clean and start anew.
In a way, yes. It's an opportunity to seek guidance, forgiveness, and a renewed sense of purpose.
And of course, there's the joyous celebration of Eid al-Fitr, marking the end of Ramadan. What can you tell us about this holiday?
Eid al-Fitr is a time of immense joy and celebration. It's a culmination of the month-long spiritual journey, a chance to break the fast with family and friends, exchange gifts, and express gratitude for the blessings received.
I've always been fascinated by the visual spectacle of Eid celebrations. With the vibrant colors, delicious food, and a palpable sense of joy and togetherness.
It's a beautiful sight to behold. It's a testament to the human spirit's ability to find joy and celebration, even after a period of intense discipline and self-reflection.
It sounds like Eid is a powerful reminder that faith isn't just about somber rituals or strict rules. It's about finding joy and connection with others, about sharing our blessings and celebrating life's simple pleasures.
Exactly. It's about embracing the holistic nature of faith, integrating the spiritual with the social, and finding moments of joy and gratitude within our daily lives.
Welcome back to our deep dive on Ramadan. We've been discussing the spiritual significance of the month, but I'm curious about its impact on everyday life. I mean, fasting for an entire month must have some pretty noticeable effects, right?
Absolutely. Ramadan's impact extends far beyond individual spiritual practices. It ripples through families, communities, and even entire societies.
For instance, I've heard about changes in sleep schedules, work routines, and even social gatherings during Ramadan.
That's right. Many Muslims adjust their daily routines to accommodate the fasting schedule and the increased focus on prayer and spiritual reflection.
I can imagine that shift must take some getting used to. It's like switching to a whole new rhythm of life for a month.
It is an adjustment, but it's often embraced as a welcome change of pace, a time to slow down, simplify, and reprioritize.
It makes you wonder about the potential health implications of such a significant shift in lifestyle. We touched on this earlier, but I'd like to explore it a bit further. What are some of the common concerns or misconceptions surrounding the health effects of fasting during Ramadan?
One common concern is that fasting can lead to dehydration or nutrient deficiencies, especially in hot climates or for people with certain medical conditions.
So, how do Muslims address those concerns? Are there any specific guidelines or recommendations for staying healthy while fasting?
Absolutely. There's a strong emphasis on maintaining good hydration by drinking plenty of fluids during non-fasting hours. There are also recommendations for consuming nutritious, balanced meals during suhoor and iftar to ensure the body gets the essential nutrients it needs.
It sounds like a lot of planning and preparation goes into making sure the fast is observed safely and healthily.
It definitely requires mindfulness and awareness of one's physical needs. Remember, Islam prioritizes health and well-being, and there are exemptions from fasting for individuals who are ill or whose health could be compromised.
That makes perfect sense. It's all about finding that balance between spiritual devotion and physical well-being.
Precisely. And it's important to consult with healthcare professionals for personalized guidance, especially for those with pre-existing conditions or concerns.
Amidst all this talk about the challenges of fasting, I'm curious about the potential benefits as well. I've heard some buzz about research suggesting possible positive effects on things like metabolism and cardiovascular health.
There's a growing body of research exploring the potential health benefits of intermittent fasting, and some studies have suggested that Ramadan fasting, with its unique pattern of food restriction, could offer certain advantages.
For example, I read that some studies have shown improvements in insulin sensitivity and blood sugar regulation during Ramadan, which could be beneficial for those at risk of developing type 2 diabetes.
That's right. There's also research suggesting potential improvements in cholesterol levels and blood pressure, which could have positive implications for cardiovascular health.
That's pretty remarkable. So while there are valid concerns to address, it's not just about potential risks, there might be some upside as well.
Exactly. It's important to approach the topic with a balanced perspective, acknowledging both the potential risks and benefits, and recognizing that individual responses to fasting can vary greatly.
It highlights the importance of personalized guidance and making informed decisions about fasting based on individual health needs and circumstances.
Absolutely. It's about listening to your body, respecting its limits, and seeking professional advice when needed.
Now, shifting gears a bit, I'd love to explore how Ramadan's impact extends beyond individual health and well-being. I'm thinking specifically about its effects on families and communities.
Ramadan is a time when families come together, sharing meals, engaging in prayer, and strengthening their bonds.
I've always found the idea of the iftar meal, the breaking of the fast, to be so heartwarming. It's like a nightly ritual that brings families together around a shared table.
It is a beautiful tradition.
Yeah.
Iftar is a time for reconnecting, sharing stories, and enjoying delicious food together.
And it's not just about the food, right? There's a deeper sense of connection and shared purpose that comes from observing Ramadan as a family unit.
Absolutely. It's a time for teaching children about the values of faith, compassion, and self-discipline.
So it's like a month-long lesson in empathy, understanding, and the importance of community.
In many ways, yes. It's about cultivating those values within the family unit and extending them outwards into the wider community.
Speaking of community, I imagine Ramadan has a significant impact on social dynamics as well. What are some of the ways that communities come together during this time?
Ramadan is a time for increased social interaction and communal activities. Mosques are often filled with worshipers for nightly prayers, and communities organize special events, lectures, and gatherings.
I've heard about the tradition of sharing iftar meals with neighbors, friends, and even strangers. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
It's a beautiful tradition that embodies the spirit of generosity and hospitality that's so central to Ramadan. It's about breaking down barriers, building bridges between people from different backgrounds, and fostering a sense of unity and shared humanity.
I love that. It's like Ramadan creates this ripple effect of kindness and generosity that extends throughout the community.
Exactly. It's a time when people are more mindful of their actions, more inclined to help those in need, and more focused on building strong, supportive communities.
Now, I can't help but wonder about the flip side of this increased social interaction. I imagine there are also potential challenges that communities face during Ramadan.
You're right. For example, the altered sleep schedules and fasting routines can lead to fatigue, which might impact work productivity or increase the risk of accidents.
So it's a mixed bag with both positive and potentially negative consequences for communities.
In a way, yes. It's a time of both increased social cohesion and potential strain on resources and infrastructure.
It sounds like a complex interplay of factors, requiring adaptation, understanding, and a willingness to work together to navigate the challenges and maximize the benefits.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the unique dynamics of Ramadan and finding creative solutions to address the potential downsides, while fostering the positive aspects of this special month.
It makes you wonder how governments and policymakers approach these unique challenges and opportunities presented by Ramadan. Do they implement any specific measures or adjust policies to accommodate the observance of the month?
In many Muslim-majority countries, governments will adjust policies and services to accommodate the observance of Ramadan.
For example, I've heard that schools might have shortened hours or modified schedules during Ramadan.
That's right. And there might also be adjustments to public transportation schedules, government office hours, and even court proceedings.
So there's a real effort to create a more accommodating environment for those who are observing Ramadan.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing the importance of this religious practice and taking steps to ensure that people can participate fully in society without having to compromise their beliefs.
It speaks to the significant role that faith plays in the lives of so many people, and the importance of respecting religious diversity within society.
Precisely. It's about fostering a sense of inclusivity and understanding, ensuring that all citizens feel valued and respected regardless of their faith or background.
Now, I'm curious to hear more about how Ramadan impacts the economic landscape. I imagine the shift in consumption patterns and the focus on charitable giving must have some pretty noticeable effects.
You are absolutely right. Ramadan has a significant impact on various sectors of the economy, from retail and food to hospitality and even finance.
For example, I've heard that the demand for certain foods skyrockets during Ramadan, particularly dates sweets and ingredients for traditional dishes.
Exactly. Many businesses see a surge in sales during Ramadan, particularly those related to food, clothing, and gifts.
And what about the impact on charitable giving? We talked earlier about how Ramadan is a time for increased generosity and support for those in need. Does this translate into a measurable increase in donations?
Absolutely. Many Muslims consider it a duty to increase their charitable giving during Ramadan. And this leads to a significant influx of donations to various causes, both locally and internationally.
That's wonderful. It's like Ramadan becomes this catalyst for positive social change, empowering communities and supporting those who are struggling.
It's a beautiful testament to the transformative power of faith and its ability to inspire compassion, generosity, and a commitment to making a difference in the world.
It really highlights the interconnectedness of our world, how individual spiritual practices can have ripple effects that extend far beyond ourselves, impacting communities, economies, and even global society. Welcome back to our final deep dive on Ramadan.
Yeah.
We've explored the spiritual, the personal, the social, and even the economic dimensions of this multifaceted observance.
What fascinates me is how Ramadan transcends geographical boundaries and cultural differences, uniting millions around the world in a shared experience.
You know, as we've been discussing this, I've been struck by the contrast between how Ramadan is often perceived versus how it's actually experienced. There's this tendency to focus on the restrictions, the deprivation. But what we've discovered is that it's so much more than just not eating.
That's a crucial point. Ramadan is often misconstrued as a solely restrictive practice. But in reality, it's a time of immense spiritual richness, communal bonding, and deep personal reflection.
It's about pushing beyond comfort zones, challenging oneself to grow, and cultivating a deeper connection with something greater than ourselves.
Exactly. The act of fasting becomes a catalyst for self-discovery, fostering resilience, gratitude, and a profound appreciation for the simple blessings we often take for granted.
I've heard people describe Ramadan as a spiritual detox, a chance to cleanse the soul and reset your priorities.
That's a beautiful analogy. It's about stripping away the distractions and excesses that clutter our lives, allowing us to reconnect with our core values and rediscover what truly matters.
It makes me wonder about the potential for non-Muslims to find meaning and inspiration in the principles of Ramadan. Even if they're not observing the fast, are there lessons or practices that resonate beyond the Islamic faith?
Absolutely. The core values of Ramadan empathy, compassion, self-discipline, and generosity are universal principles that transcend religious boundaries.
So even if someone isn't fasting, they could still engage with the spirit of Ramadan by practicing mindfulness, volunteering in their community, or simply making a conscious effort to be more present and grateful in their daily lives.
Exactly. It's about finding ways to connect with those universal values in a way that feels authentic and meaningful, regardless of one's personal beliefs.
It speaks to the transformative power of Ramadan, its ability to inspire not just individual growth, but also a broader sense of social responsibility and a commitment to making the world a better place.
It's a reminder that we're all interconnected and our actions, however small, can have a ripple effect that extends far beyond ourselves.
Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious to get your thoughts on the future of Ramadan. How do you see this ancient observance evolving in the modern world, especially with the rise of globalization and technology?
Well, we're already seeing a fascinating interplay between tradition and modernity as Ramadan adapts to the digital age. Social media platforms are being used to connect Muslims across the globe, share knowledge and experiences, and even provide virtual support for those observing the fast.
It's like a global Ramadan community united by shared values and practices.
Precisely. And technology is also being utilized to make Ramadan more accessible for people with disabilities, or those living in remote areas where access to mosques or Islamic communities might be limited.
So technology is, in a way, helping to preserve and even expand the reach of this ancient tradition.
In many ways, yes. It's an exciting time to witness how Ramadan is embracing innovation while remaining true to its core spiritual essence.
As we conclude our deep dive into Ramadan, I'm left with a sense of awe at the depth and richness of this observance. It's a powerful reminder that faith can be a source of immense strength, resilience, and inspiration, not just for individuals, but for entire communities and even global society.
I wholeheartedly agree. It's been a privilege to explore this topic with you and to shed light on the multifaceted beauty of Ramadan.
And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to continue exploring the fascinating world of Ramadan. Maybe you'll even be inspired to incorporate some of its principles into your own life, whether it's through acts of kindness, mindful reflection, or simply a deeper appreciation for the diversity of human experience. Thank you for joining us.